So, first presentation is hard for me because it's 10 minutes, and those of you that know me very well know that I normally talk for hours. So a quick overview of the Atmer lodgement database. Briefly, I'm the BCTA Group CEO, so I represent all of the companies now in the BCTA Group, and I'm generally responsible for all of the businesses. But Atmer, as many of you will know, UK-based, we've been around for quite a long time. We're completely independent, so we're not owned by anybody. We are our own company and we employ our own people. We're not-for-profit, and we operate now on quite a wide remit. So in the UK mainly, we operate in Dubai, Poland, Spain, Australia and New Zealand. Most of those we have offices in just for airtightness, which is for us pretty crazy. So why do we lodge tests in the UK? Well, the first reason is building control or the approved inspectors, the building inspectors. It makes life really easy for them for us to be able to simply give a one-page certificate. That certificate is the same for most of the industries. Everybody uses the same documentation, and it makes it super simple for the poor people that often receive very complex reports. We use it to gain real-world information. That one's fairly obvious. We do it to protect the industry. I won't go too much into that just now, but it allows us to monitor who's not using lodgement or if anybody's being fraudulent, and we're able to swiftly remove them. The reduced administration means testers in the UK and in our remits don't have to write full test reports. They can simply use the one-page certificate that's downloaded. It allows us to eradicate bad practices and remove the need for remove anything that's gone really wrong. We can stop it at source. We use it to fairly fund the scheme, so every tester and every company pays a fee per plot. Importantly, a fee per plot, not per test. So you can test the same building 10 times, but you'll only ever pay once. And of course, for quality control as part of our certification schemes. How do we lodge the test here? Well, we have loads of options. The main ones being, or the most popular being, a direct lodgement from Fantastic and TechTight. So if you use those softwares and you've selected Atmer as your test standard, you'll notice that the amazing guys at Retrotech and the amazing guys at the Energy Conservatory have worked with us to implement a simple button that you push go and it pushes all the data into our system. We're finding now it's a lot more people just prefer to drag and drop the raw data files to the TechTight and Fantastic files. They just drag and drop them into our database. You can do a CSV upload, becoming less and less popular now because we don't capture much data with the CSV upload because there's only maybe 32 fields you need to fill in. So we encourage everybody to use the first two. We also have the Atmer iOS testing app that allows you to test using an iPad or an Android tablet. We're just finalising that in the UK, but that will be of great help to us to have our own testing app. So far we have 875,500 tests completed. That was at 5 p.m. yesterday, which is a lot of data. So 800,000 tests, and for each of those we have maybe 200 to 250 fields for each individual test. So if you do the math, we're pushing on billions of data. About 600 tests every working day are received on average across the UK, so a really high level. And it's important to note when I run through the data that we use AP50, not N50 in the UK. So AP50 is surface area, not volume divided by, or not air changes as in N50. So we've got some really interesting graphs. The most important you'll see, if you go from bottom to top, so the very light blue on the right-hand side represents the year 2015, and every year we move up is an increase. So we're looking around about 10% more tests done every year that go into our lodgement system. Now, some of you will have spotted the obvious. This section for 2020 was when the pandemic hit, and you can see it ruined my really nice graph. Very upset about that. But you can see the impact it had, but also the really quick recovery we've had in the later part of the year, the numbers have almost got up to normal, and that's because the UK took the approach of keeping building sites open and trying to build our way out of the pandemic. So it's a fantastic looking graph to see the numbers of tests coming in and to analyse if more and more tests are being conducted. I have a lovely, this is one of my favourite ones. So this is the average AP50 is falling by around about 3% each year. And there's so much data on one slide here that I'll never be able to cover everything, but you can really see that we are slowly reducing the AP50 of all of our buildings as the years go on. So the lines represent each year again. However, if you look at really closely, we're only seeing reductions of around about 0.15 each year. So based on that, to achieve net zero homes or to achieve an average of less than 1.00, it's going to take us 20 years at the current rate without any changes in legislation. You can see in lodgement, we don't just take air testing results, we take so much more, like the ventilation type, the construction type. And you can see in the UK that around about 70% of our homes are still built using traditional methods, which is what we would call lightweight block inner skin and a brick outer skin and plasterboard on the inside. So a significant number of our homes are built that way. It's just how we build. But what's really interesting is when we start breaking down into the home nations. So if you look at Scotland, for instance, we moved from around about 8% of timber frame in the whole of the UK, including Northern Ireland. It jumps to 90% when we look just at Scotland. They build a significant proportion of timber frame homes in Scotland because they have lots of trees and access to materials. But that doesn't necessarily translate into great results. So we can break it down even further with some fancy graphs, and we can see, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see my mouse, but the average brick and block construction is 4.64 overall. Concrete frame tends to do much better, 3.31. Timber frame up at 4.44. And you'll notice most people expect timber frame to be a lot better than the traditional block and brick construction, but the difference is minimal. We've got some theories about that. One is that we don't use tapes anywhere near enough. It's very common for the internal air barrier membrane just to be stapled and therefore providing very little in the way of an air barrier. So we're not quite on the same level. We'd always expect timber to be better because of the use of membranes. We tend to find steel frame construction slightly better again, and what really surprises me is perhaps the SIPs, the structurally insulated panel system, and the ICF, which is the internal concrete poured into the foam bricks, doesn't actually, on average, provide a much better result. It is slightly better, but perhaps I'd have expected to see more improvements from that side of the industry. But we are building more homes with mechanical ventilation. We've tracked that over a number of years. But we have to, there is still a lot of homes here, and it's easier sometimes if you look at the percentages, if we break it into 100%, that around 62% of our homes in 2020 were built with a hope and a prayer that the wind was blowing in the right direction in order to ventilate your home. Around about 25%, 26% were built using some sort of forced mechanical ventilation, which is a real concern, and it's something that the industry is slowly growing tired of. So a quick summary, the advantages to our system is it's very easy to lodge because we can use the existing software. It's very fast because of the server type we use. One of the things I haven't covered is that we have an amazing deviations process that allows us to live review deviations from the test standards. So the disadvantages we have is that in the early days, I mean, for the first 4 years or so, lots of the data was set as free text, and that makes it very hard to analyze because we haven't locked down lots of those fields. So we're having to do lots of data manipulation to find them. We also don't record the reasons for failures just yet, and therefore we're missing out on lots more data that we possibly could. That will be included in the iPad app. So in quick summary, buildings are becoming much more airtight, but at a very slow rate. We're fortunate enough to test more than 50% of all new constructions. We're getting closer to 60% now, but this number may increase to 100% when new regulations kick in, either later this year or early in 2022. Atmer has significant amounts of data as well. So if you'd like to know more, please contact me. We often give out data to people like Public Health England or universities. We work really well with University College London, who often write papers using our raw data. So more than happy to take questions, or at the end at 10:55 with the rest of the panel. So thank you very much. Over to you, Martin.